Good.
Yep.
Okay, Wren, I guess if you want to start, a lot of the coaches have talked about the job Brett Yormark has done with the House settlement and all of those changes. Just your thoughts on how the Big 12 is handling all of it and going into the future.
Yeah, the Big 12 has been a big part of settlement development, settlement implementation. Not just Commissioner Yormark, but his staff, and in specific Jessica Presnell, the General Counsel for the Big 12. They've all done a great job, and I think even our ADs who are on the settlement implementation committee have done a good job informing us, soliciting us for input, and being really plugged into that process.
And Yormark is fully behind the 5-11 college football playoff if it expands to 16, which we think it will. Even though, with the other one, the Big 12 could get 2 automatic qualifiers, why does the league and maybe yourself believe 5-11 is the right way?
Yeah, I think it shouldn't be predetermined that anybody gets a certain number of spots. You earn your way in, and it's the fairest way to do it, in my opinion. There are varying other opinions out there. There are different models that allow some leagues and institutions to maybe be able to create what would be, in essence, play-in games with multiple AQs, and so they're chasing revenue. But the reality is, you can't look at what the SEC's done in basketball. It's a great example. A few years ago, if we were to decide AQs for multiple AQs for basketball, the SEC wouldn't get anywhere near what they're getting right now. And so I just don't think you can predetermine that. Like the best way to do it, the fairest way to do it, is to give everybody one AQ and let everybody else earn their way in.
And here at Big 12 Football Media Days, have you been showing Rich Rod the ropes? Have you been introducing him to everybody? How's it been?
We have. We made our rounds. We had a great meal last night. We went to Del Frisco Steakhouse, and we ordered the kids seafood and steak and everything else so that they could get a chance to experience a really good meal. And it's been. I always enjoy coming back here. Now, I've gotten used to those milder temperatures in West Virginia this summer. Like, people are falling out back home at 88. You land here and it's like 98. But I don't miss coming here in July when the weather's so hot. But it's always good to come back to familiar territory. But then we'll all be ready to go home.
And how do you see Coach Rodriguez kind of fitting into the now 16 coaches in the Big 12?
Well, he fits in well. I mean, listen, he's a coach's coach. Coaches really respect him. And I found this out in the coaching search process, just the amount of respect people have for his role in developing a lot of the offensive schemes that we see now, and what a pioneer he was. People greatly respect him. And you can see when he's at the podium or talking to people, he commands the room. He's engaging, he's charismatic, he's funny, he's honest. And so I think people really appreciate that instead of just hearing Coach speak at these things.
Right. And then one I guess kind of nuts and bolts question. You said for rev share, WU will give it out based on or relative to the revenue each sport generates.
Yes.
Will that be based on the previous years or some sort of like rolling average? Or?
Yeah, it's a rolling average, which is the best way to do it. So you don't have to do drastic changes based on anomalies that may occur. So it's a rolling average that we do a checkpoint in ever so often on. But we just felt like, hey, if we're going to do this, what's the fairest way to do it, and what's the most non-discriminatory way to do it? And that was the way we felt like we needed to do it.
I was going to say that certainly seems fairer than predetermining it and saying no matter what happens, it's this. The sort of dynamic way is much more fair.
It is, and and listen, some of our coaches could nitpick one thing or another, or try to talk about. They would like to have more, and listen, they can all find somebody who does more and somebody who does less. But I think the reality is we have these buckets of revenue that are part of the settlement identified. What percentage did you contribute, and then a corresponding percentage out is really the most fair way to do it. I know it's definitely easier for me, so I don't want to be deciding that, but I also think it's the most fair way.
And then lastly, any naming rights announcements you want to break, or keeping those in the pocket?
We're not there yet, but hopefully soon. We definitely are having lots of conversations. Listen, I've been really candid that we have to pursue additional revenue streams, not just to get to the settlement, but on the heels of the settlement, we're going to need to add scholarships. And then we have a lot of other needs. We need to increase some of our budgets in travel, and some of those things have been the same for 4 or 5 years, even though costs have escalated greatly. And so we've got a lot of things that we got to work on, and that requires money. And so we're kicking every rock we can to turn it over and figure out if there's money there. And so naming rights is part of that. And as soon as we have something to announce, we will.
Okay, great. Tudor's Biscuit World Coliseum.